Why didn't anyone tell me about Murakami? I should have been reading his books from years ago. Hi everyone, my name is Helen Blunden, or Activate Learn on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, feel free to follow me because I write about history, learning, books, knitting, all sorts of stuff. I also rant a lot too. But anyway, you don't need to know about that. Let's talk about the book at hand, which is Murakami, what I talk about when I talk about running. Now, I got this book simply because someone who I follow tweeted out a couple of the books that he had bought by Murakami. And given that a few people, the name kept popping up, okay? And if the name keeps popping up, I think the universe is telling me something. I've got to read this guy's books, and I'm glad I did. I decided to go with this one simply because it's about running. Now, recently, I started doing the couch to 10K. Last year, I did the couch to 5K, and I did it. Thank God. I'm someone who despises running, but I thought I've got to overcome my fear of running and now do the couch to 10K, which is what I'm doing now. I'm in the last week or so. I'm doing about 9 kilometers, so I've only got another K to go. I'll be doing 10Ks. You know, this is huge for me as someone who doesn't run and doesn't like it. But that was the reason why I bought this book, because I thought maybe it could give me some tips about running, about my form, maybe about my breathing, or what I could be doing to kind of motivate myself to be happy to get out there. It's always a drag just to get myself out of bed and go, oh God, I gotta do an hour of running now. It's just like... But you know what? It's not just about running. It's not just about his time in the doing the marathons. It's not just about, I guess, the sport. It's not about. It's a lot deeper. It is a lot deeper. Now, Murakami, he's a really interesting author. He was running a jazz club some years ago, and then all of a sudden he was watching this baseball game, and he thought, oh, I'm going to write a novel, and he did it. My God, I wish I could do something like that. Oh my God, I wish. I've never been struck by inspiration like this, but he wrote a couple of novels, but it was until he wrote Norwegian Wood, which I've yet to read, that his works became very popular, and it started to become it was translated into other languages. Now, because I read this as my first book of Murakami, and I'm currently reading Men Without Women, which is brilliant. I have decided that Murakami now is another author who I'm going to buy his entire collection. So this is his entire collection, which means I'm going to spend a lot of money there. But you know what? I don't care, because I love his style, I love his writing, and I love how, in some way, it reminds me of Hemingway. He's not frivolous with his words. They're just words exact where they need to be, and they basically have a punch to them too, because they are self-reflective, and they evoke something in you that you think, you know, this is really deep. So what I talk about when I talk about running, I guess I should start the review, shouldn't I, is really a book about life, about his reflections of his life, about reflections of the type of person he is and why he's like that. But while he's talking about himself, he's actually giving us some really good life tips. Now, this is a book that you would read and reread. Don't be afraid of the title that it's running, that you think, I'm not a runner, I don't care about marathons. It's what he goes through. It's the process of his thinking, his work ethic, the way that do you know this guy writes 10 pages every day, and then after he writes 10 pages, he goes for a 10-kilometer run, and he's been doing that 6 days a week for many, many years. So what we're seeing is a guy who's actually quite disciplined, and a guy who values, I guess, his life and his time, and he's just extremely disciplined. So as I was reading this, I thought I could learn something from him. And what I learned is be mindful of what you're doing and have enjoyment in what you're doing, and try and understand what it is that you do and why you do it that way, and then appreciate it. That's what I got from it. What I also loved was he said that he got permission from the widow of Raymond Carver, Tess Gallagher, to use the similar theme of Raymond Carver's book, What I Talk About When I Talk About Love, which, if you haven't read Raymond Carver's book, I've also done a YouTube review, a book review on that book, and it's brilliant. And Raymond Carver is another author that I would love to read more of. So this book is a book that you can read and reread, like I mentioned, but then you would buy more copies and you would give them away as gifts. Anyone can read it because it's not just about running. He does talk about how he prepares and practices for these long marathons and distance running, but at the same time, he's really talking about, it's more like a memoir. It's talking about the reflections that he's had about what he's learnt about life along the way. Another book very similar to this, as I was reading it, was for you Stephen King Stephen King fans out there. Stephen King did something similar, although his was more around the practice of writing, and it was called Stephen King on Writing, and where he enmeshes, I guess, some themes about life as well. So this is Murakami's What I Talk About When I Talk About Running. Don't doubt to get this book. Just go get it. Go get it. It's brilliant for anyone and everyone. I would highly recommend this book. And please, for you Murakami readers out there, please tell me what other books I should be reading from him. I'm currently reading, just as I mentioned, Men Who Love Women, and so far I'm into my third story, and I love the way he writes. It immerses you immediately into the story, but I'm not going to review that just yet. Please let me finish the book. Please let me revel in everything that is so lovely and yummy about Murakami. All right then, that is it for me. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Bye for now. Okay, until the next review. Bye.